Spoiler alert, Alice in Chains has a strong chance of landing at number 1 in this countdown. Today, we're diving into the most legendary MTV Unplugged performances by grunge bands. These raw, acoustic sets revealed the bare emotions behind the music that defined a generation. Each song tells a story of pain, reflection, and vulnerability. Oh, and if you didn't know already, Nirvana's Unplugged has sold more copies than any other grunge Unplugged album, but let's see if it tops the list. Stay tuned. Number 4. Pearl Jam MTV Unplugged 1992. Pearl Jam's 1992 Unplugged session was a turning point for the band. With 10 on the rise, their performance stripped away the heavier rock sound and showcased the raw intensity of their lyrics and energy. The set kicked off with Oceans, which, in its acoustic form, felt more ethereal, as if the ocean's waves themselves were pushing through Vedder's vocals. This dreamlike vibe seamlessly transitioned into the powerful State of Love and Trust, a song that, despite being acoustic, retained its fiery energy. Vedder's voice took on a different tone, more intense and intimate, as the band rocked the room even without distortion. One of the highlights was Alive, where the acoustic arrangement revealed the deeper layers of its meaning, survival, resilience, and the weight of personal history. Eddie Vedder's voice soared, but it was the acoustic chords that brought the song closer to home, as if you could feel the battles being fought within. Then came Black, perhaps one of their most emotional performances of the night. The song's longing and heartache were made even more poignant, with Vedder's voice cracking on the most tender lines. I know someday you'll have a beautiful life, I know you'll be a star. It was a gut-wrenching moment that left the audience in awe. They followed it with the iconic Jeremy, which had its own electric energy despite the acoustic setup. Vedder's delivery gave a new sense of urgency to the dark narrative behind the lyrics. Finally, Porch was a moment of rebellion. Vedder's decision to scrawl pro-choice on his arm mid-performance is still talked about today, reminding everyone that even acoustic, Pearl Jam carried their fierce convictions with them. Number 3. Nirvana MTV Unplugged in New York 1993. One of the most well-known MTV Unplugged performances ever, Nirvana's 1993 set became legendary, especially after Kurt Cobain's passing. MTV Unplugged in New York stands out not just for its emotional weight, but because it became the highest-selling Unplugged album in grunge history, moving over 8 million copies worldwide. The session began with About a Girl, a jangly pop track from their early years, but in acoustic form, it felt stripped to its essence. Cobain's voice was rough, yet melodic, adding an extra layer of fragility to the song. He then moved into Come As You Are, a song filled with contradictions, delivered with the weight of someone who's lived through it all. The acoustic arrangement emphasized the darker tones of the lyrics, especially the haunting refrain, I don't have a gun. One of the biggest surprises was The Man Who Sold the World, a David Bowie cover. Kurt's version gave it a haunting new life, with his distinctive voice blending perfectly with the acoustic guitar. The performance became one of the most iconic moments of the entire Unplugged series. Then came Pennyroyal Tea, with Cobain performing solo, amplifying the loneliness and isolation in his voice. The minimalistic arrangement let his emotions shine through, showing the world a raw, vulnerable side to Nirvana. Other standouts included Dumb, where the violin accompaniment added a surprising depth, and Polly, where Cobain's subdued delivery highlighted the song's dark, unsettling subject matter. They continued with On a Plane and Something in the Way, both of which felt like deep introspections, with Kurt's voice pulling you into his reflective state of mind. But the most emotional moment was Where Did You Sleep Last Night, a traditional folk song made famous by Lead Belly. Cobain's performance here was nothing short of soul-crushing, with his final wail sending chills down everyone's spine. As his voice cracked on the final line, I would shiver the whole night through, it felt like he had given every last ounce of himself. Number 2. Stone Temple Pilots MTV Unplugged 1993. Stone Temple Pilots' MTV Unplugged performance in 1993 is often overlooked, but it was an acoustic triumph that allowed Scott Weiland to showcase his unique vocal range. They began with Cracker Man, an upbeat track that took on a more bluesy tone when played acoustically. Weiland's gritty voice cut through the melody, and the band's stripped-down sound gave the track new life. Creep followed, and this was where things got emotional. The acoustic version laid bare the song's vulnerability, and Weiland's voice was filled with a sense of deep regret and self-loathing. As he sang, "I'm half the man I used to be," it was impossible not to feel the weight of those words. STP also delivered an unforgettable acoustic rendition of Plush, which was one of their biggest hits at the time. The acoustic guitars gave the song a somber, reflective tone, and Weiland's voice soared, showing his incredible vocal versatility. It was the perfect way to wrap up their set and demonstrated just how adaptable their music was in any setting. Number 1. Alice in Chains, MTV Unplugged, 1996. At the top of the list, Alice in Chains' 1996 MTV Unplugged performance stands as one of the most raw and emotionally charged in grunge history. It was also one of Lane Staley's last live performances, adding to its weight and significance. The set opened with Nutshell, a powerful yet haunting piece that laid bare the emotional turmoil within the band. Lane's delivery of "If I Can't Be My Own, I'd Feel Better Dead" struck deep, his vocals fragile but commanding. The song set the tone for the rest of the performance. This was Alice in Chains at their most vulnerable. Brother came next, with its soothing harmonies between Staley and Jerry Cantrell. The intimacy of the acoustic format highlighted the personal nature of the song, particularly as Cantrell had written it for his own brother. The performance was a tender moment between the band and their audience. The mood shifted slightly with No Excuses, one of the more upbeat songs in their catalog. Even in acoustic form, it maintained its rhythmic groove, but with an added layer of poignancy as the lyrics hinted at the strains within the band. Sludge Factory brought a darker, more eerie tone to the set. The haunting acoustic riff gave the song a hypnotic quality, drawing listeners deeper into its murky themes. Lane's voice here was full of raw emotion, a powerful reminder of the struggles he faced. The emotional peak of the set came with Down in a Hole. Lane's voice was heavy with sorrow, and every line felt like it was being torn from his soul. I'd like to fly, but my wings have been so denied, carried new meaning as Staley laid his pain bare for the world to see. Next, Angry Chair and Rooster kept the momentum strong. Rooster, a song about Cantrell's father's experiences in the Vietnam War, became a slow-burning crescendo of emotion. The acoustic rendition brought out even more depth, with Jerry's solo and Lane's vocals perfectly complementing each other. The band continued with Got Me Wrong, Heaven Beside You, and Wood, each song resonating with deep introspection. Wood, in particular, a tribute to their late friend Andrew Wood, stood out for its emotional intensity, leaving the crowd mesmerized by the weight of its message. Finally, they closed the set with Over Now, and the powerful Killer Is Me. Killer Is Me was a special moment. It had never been released before and was performed live for the first time during this Unplugged session. Its slow, brooding tempo and cryptic lyrics offered the perfect bittersweet closure to the performance. It was a fitting way to end, as if the band was leaving the audience with a lingering mystery, much like the turbulent journey they had been on. So, that's the top 4 grunge MTV Unplugged performances. Nirvana's MTV Unplugged in New York may have sold the most records, but it's Alice in Chains that truly tugged at the heartstrings, delivering a haunting farewell to their fans. Now that we've journeyed through these unforgettable performances, we want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on the list? Which one was your favorite, and do you think any other band deserves to be included in this ranking? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you're a huge fan of grunge, especially Alice in Chains, who took the number 1 spot with that legendary Unplugged performance, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Join us for more deep dives into the music that shaped a generation.